Well, thank you guys for coming via Zoom and in person. So today we're going to do a little bit of an extern panel with three of our externs who have been previous externs. So they know all the ins and outs of extern, and we are very thrilled to have them back. So we'll start with some intros. My name is Addie Monger. So I am on the Techpoint talent team. I have been here for about 3 months or so. So my role at Techpoint is I work with students, but I also primarily work with all their companies. So I make sure they all get the talent they need during the summer and then even after extern as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll introduce our panelists. And if you guys could just tell me your name, where you go to school, what year you are, your major, and where you are for extern.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Reynolds. I'm going into my senior year at Purdue University for physics and astronomy with a certificate in data science. I'm at Stanley for my externship this year, which has been really exciting. It's a great team there.
Hi everyone, I'm Lily. I'm raising a senior as well at Olin College, and I learn quantitative economics and computer science at Olin. This year I worked for Sally May as the data science intern, and I worked for Sally May last year as well, but just changing the positions. So it's great to be here today.
Villa. I'm also a rising senior at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, studying software engineering, computer science, and discrete mathematics. And I'm a software intern right now at Indigo Bioautomation, and that's been really exciting.
Very cool. Thank you, everyone. So tell us a little bit, a lot of these students are in high school, so they're about to be in your shoes, which is in college. So what advice do you have for them to prepare for college, whether that be the best thing to look for in a school, or whether that just be good advice to have?
So I think I can start first. So I have 3 advice really. Like, firstly, know your school well. I mean, if you have a chance, just have a tour to visit your school, and then trying to find the alumni or current student that you know and chat with them, because they will know more about the school, like some tips to doing well in the challenging class or some interesting class that you should take during your freshman year. And then you also need to see like which dorm do you want to be in during your freshman, because in my college, they have a diverse dorm and diverse floor. So for sport floor or language floor or even like sustainable environment, so choose which one match with you. Other thing is when you're networking and communication, you also should try to connect with the professor. They can be your academic advisor, or they can be the international advisor if you are an international student, to know more about the rules, know more about the documents, or they can guide you about the career path. So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, so I would say advice for colleges: know, or if you don't know, learn your learning style and your study style. So how best do you learn? How best do you study? And then make sure that where you end up, you know how to implement that. I personally prefer studying in a quiet space without a lot of people around reviewing my notes in a specific way. And so knowing that I was going or attempting to be in a dorm that had private study rooms where I didn't necessarily need to have the background noise of a roommate was really helpful to me. And also knowing how you study is going to be very helpful, especially as you get to classes that are going to challenge you more.
I would say probably the most important thing I did in college was find something I really, really enjoy. So you'll go to college, there will be a lot of uncertainty. You're going to be really unclear on what you're doing and where your path is for maybe the first year, maybe even 2 years. And then normally you'll have some kind of idea. It's okay if you don't, but I found that idea by hunting down something I loved, which was working in big data, specifically through physics and astronomy. Go and meet with a professor that you think has a field that interests you. When I first went to Purdue, I tried really hard to get in touch with the nanotech lab, and I heard nothing back from them. And that really, really bothered me. But you have to pick yourself back up. And I think I went through 5 different professors before I found a team that I really, really loved. And I've been a part of that team for 4 years now. So go talk with professors, find a club, find an activity, find something you're passionate about, and do that. because college can't just be all about going to the classes. You need something else that drives you, and especially something else that you can learn valuable life lessons from that you'll carry for the rest of your days.
Yes, I want to add on like with your idea because I think freshman year is the time that you can enjoy as many events as possible. For me, I'm trying to attend at least one event per day because like they can be the business event, they can be the game night in the dorm, or they can be like the connection between alumni and student. So trying to find the clubs that you like and also seeing in your I think like today email from your school to see which event that you can join.
Very good advice. So switching gears a little bit to Xtern specifically. So all these students know a little bit about Xtern. Well, what do you guys have for, what advice do you have for when it comes to externship? Like, how do you land one? What's the best way to get involved and what's the best way to make yourself stand out among other interns?
So I'll this kind of ties into what they were saying a minute or so ago. Have something that you are passionate about and that you can work into what you're trying to get an internship with. So for me personally, I'm a part of the underwater robotics team, which does not have much to do with the work that I'm doing right now at Indigo, but I was able to talk about the teamwork that I did with it and the planning and the software development I did do. And I think that it really comes through in an interview if you're really excited about the work you're doing and you're excited to apply that knowledge. That's going to stand out a lot more than someone who's just going through classes and can only present work that they've done in class.
Yeah, I agree. And then another thing is, I think the sooner you prepare for your resume and your experience, the better you can be stand out among the interns. So for example, if you're a freshman or you're a sophomore that you do not have much industry experience, just try to find the on-campus job in the office. You can be marketing or you can be project manager or program manager, or maybe you can be data manager as well for the office, for the department from your school. So it will like be a highlight in your resume.
Yeah, I'm going to second what my colleague said. If you found something you're really, really passionate about, don't be afraid in an interview to try to fit your passion into what you think they might need. I've applied for a lot of jobs. I haven't gotten all of them. And I'm not even sure I've been qualified for all of them if you just look at my resume. But I've got a lot of passion, and I've got a lot of passion to develop a lot of different skills. And I think that speaks to employers really well when you're trying to develop more skills, because that shows them that even if you don't have every single tool that they want you to have in your toolbox for day one on the job, by week one, they know you'll have them.
So then during the process, when you guys are actually talking to these employers to be an intern, what are like good questions to ask? Because obviously you guys are interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you.
So I think that for me, I always ask some question. For example, I will ask them about the typical day in their work, because I think that the job description, it's kind of like the general one. And then each position you have a like specific task that it's interest them, and then we want to know about that. And we also, I also ask about the culture of the company, like which part of the company that makes they feel really involved in or like enjoy while they're working at this company. And I also ask about the challenge that my team, like the team who interview me, are facing. And then we'll see that, oh, from this time I interview until I got the job, or like waiting for the study of the job, I can have some kind of idea of solution for this challenge as well. So these are the 3 questions I often ask my interviewer.
Yeah, so I would say it's not a question you're always going to get an answer to, but I would say the question I always ask is, what team or what project do you see me working on if I was hired? And you can always adjust that to the person you hire this position for. A lot of the time, especially if it's a smaller company or you're being interviewed by people who are the people you could potentially be working with, they're going to have some idea of what projects are currently going on, what projects they're hoping to do in the future, and they'll probably be able to give you more specifics than you're going to be a software developer or you're going to be a data scientist. And that can help you one, it can help you decide if that's a position you really want. And two, it can show them that you're like really invested in you want to know what you're going to be doing.
I would say there are two big questions I asked during interviews, especially this year, but the first one is this going to be an in-person experience or a virtual one? That's, especially these last 2 years, has not been a clear line. I think it's going to get a lot clearer going forward. You'll probably know going in, but I think it's an important question to ask. And if it is an in-person one, you can ask, what happens if I need to go virtual? What if I'm sick, but I can still work, but I don't want to come into the office? Finding a work environment that's flexible to that, for some people, is a really, really important thing. The second big question I ask, I word very specifically. I lead with, this is what I want to do. These are the skills I have, and this is how I want to use them. Is that what you have in mind for this job, or what do you see me doing? So as someone in data science and machine learning, a lot of companies are like, I want someone who can do data science and machine learning, but then you get there and that's not what they have you doing. So it's important to clarify, am I going to be doing what I actually want to be doing, or do you want me to do something else? Because that sets the expectation appropriately. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a job that you like. My last job, where I didn't do much data science and machine learning, I really liked, but it's good to set that expectation because it's not always clear when you're walking in.
Yes, and you can also ask about the last intern from the team. So which project the last intern do, and then what is the expectation for the intern this year? So you say set the expectation for them about us, and then also like we know what they want from us as well.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what your guys' normal day-to-day looks like as an extern.
So my day-to-day, so I get up, I get ready for work. I'm normally in the office between 8 and 8:30. My company is very flexible with start times. As long as I get all my work done and work all day, I can show up pretty flexibly. My manager / mentor will show up around, well, he'll show up when he gets to work, but he'll come around and see me at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and we'll talk about what I've done the previous day, if I'm running into any issues, and if I'm done with a current project, we'll talk about what I should be doing next, and then work through, have lunch, keep doing work. We use Slack, which is just a messaging app. So if I ever need help from him or another team member, I can always just message them. And I usually end up messaging someone at least once a day, because I'm the intern. I'm not expected to have all of the answers for the entire company. And then that's the end of the workday. I'll come back. I'm staying at Butler, so I'll come back to Butler. I typically go for a run or a bike ride, and then if Xtern's got any activities going on that night, that's what I do.
Yeah, so I think like my day is also a little bit the same as she told, but then maybe I have some tips for you guys. Like, unless for me, I always do that every single day. So I started at around 8 or 8:30 as you, but because I'm virtual one, so I do not like takes time to drive from here to my company. So that's the good thing. I can sleep a little bit more. But then when I start the day, the first thing I do is taking notes about the 3 main priority tasks I need to be done on that day, and then some small to-do list as well to make sure that at least I know what I should do for days. And then I also try to keep track of the meetings I have for days, and then take notes of what I should talk about with the mentors or with my manager during the meetings. And then I'm trying to check in with my mentor at least once a day, and my manager at least twice a week, because I want they to know me that, oh, I'm still be on track, I'm still be on the right track, and I'm in progress of working. Because like working virtually, no one will come over to ask you some things, right? You need to be really active to ask them, to message them about what you are doing. And then after work, then I'm also doing workout, I'm cooking some things, and then enjoy the evening. That's my day.
I get up, I have a coffee pot I set on a timer so that it brews me 5 cups of coffee every morning. So that's my alarm. I thought I could live without it, and then day 2 I had to go buy one. I couldn't live without it. I left it at my apartment. I get up, I get myself ready for the day. I sit down at my desk with 2 mandarin oranges, and I eat those while I go over my notes from the previous day for about 15 minutes. Boot up my computer early because IT has a habit of making me restart it every morning, hoping that ends soon. But I just try to get ready for the day. I subscribe to a news source called Medium, but I don't do them for their politics stuff. I get an intake of data science news from them. And if I haven't read all of my 3 free articles for the month, that's what I spend my morning doing because I won't pay for the subscription. If I don't have my 3 free articles, I pull out a different computer. So, I try to start my day off learning something new just because I really enjoy doing that. Every day with Stanley, I go all of 5 feet from my bed to my desk because we're virtual. And I have a 9 o'clock meeting after starting at 8. So I take 8 to 9 to get ready. 9 o'clock meeting with the whole team we have every day. We go over what we're working on that day, what our goals are for the day, and what our roadblocks are. So oftentimes my roadblock is I need more data. Who has this data source? Who do we need to talk to? Stanley's a big company. So typically that ends up with setting another meeting later in the day to talk to somebody else to get their account login to extract data from a data source. Then I try to spend the rest of the day, minus the 2 or 3 meetings I might have with other teams to coordinate things, working on different, systems and mathematical processes to try to prepare things. So I work in natural language processing. A lot of that is setting up a model, waiting for the model to load, testing the model, validating the model. It's a long process, but I really enjoy it. At the end of the workday, I turn my computer off, and I always make sure to make my workplace go somewhere else. So I put my work laptop away, and I put my personal computer on my desk instead, just so I don't go back to working randomly at like 7 o'clock, because that wouldn't be any good. The first thing I always do after work is I check the weather. So
You want to go for a run or something like that?
no, I love astronomy. It's always been a passion of mine, and I did bring a telescope setup of mine up here. So I have 2. I've got a small travel one I take to campgrounds, and then I have a big one I have at home that is too heavy to be carrying around because it would take up my whole trunk. So that's actually what I did right before I came to this. Was I checked the weather, and it's going to be a beautiful, clear night, so I'll be out with the telescope.
Absolutely. So kind of going off what you guys said, what's a good way to let yourself not get stressed and stay organized during your internship so you don't feel too overwhelmed? Obviously, Jack, you said that I like what you said. You put your stuff away,
Yeah.
you make sure it's your personal computer. So that way you don't feel like you have to continue to work. You have time set aside for yourself.
I have a set amount of attention I pretty much have to fill at all times. If I leave my work laptop out, I know that eventually I will go diving back into that. Part of that is I enjoy my work, but I don't get paid overtime, so that needs to not happen.
I agree with you. And I also have habit of doing like writing the daily journals. So like I say, at the beginning of the day, I will list out the main priorities and then to-do list. And then after that, I'm trying to finish as many as possible. And after that, like I say, I spend the whole morning for just caring about myself. I can cook something I like. I can watch some shows I love as well. Because like after the long day of working, you need to spend some time for yourself. Like you have the astronomy habits, right? And you love to run. So yeah, we should take care of ourselves more after the day.
So I'm in a bit of a different position because I don't work from my room. Having a separate workplace is very important to me. It helps me to not be that stressed. So being able to take that 30-minute commute to get into the work mindset and then get out of the work mindset really helps. And then, as just mentioned, I run almost every day. I find it a great stress relief, and then I can take the evening to, do what I feel like doing, whether that's reading or doing whatever extern's planning or just going to sleep early, because sometimes that's what I want to do.
Absolutely.
I will say one big thing I learned in astronomy, we do some complex projects that involve a lot of people. And most of them are international projects because there are telescopes all over the world we have to work with. And it can get really, really stressful because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of pressure. Things have to be done very quickly most of the time. And at least I think most jobs, there are definitely exceptions to this. Sometimes when you're really stressed, you need to sit back and you need to say, is this a life or death situation? And the answer is probably no. If it is a life or death situation, stress is probably warranted. But sometimes you've got to take a step back and do some perspective work, because you can get down the rabbit hole, and that's not always a bad place to be, but sometimes it can be detrimental to your health.
Nice. So then what would you guys say you're most looking forward to this entire summer?
Oh gosh. Most looking forward to. I was an extern last year, and it was my first time as an extern, and don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun virtually, but I am super excited to get to see all of what Xtern has to offer in person and to get to know my fellow externs in a way I really wasn't able to last year.
I also have the same ideas because I also externed last year and everything is virtual. So I'm just staying at my college, do the work, and then end of the day. But this year I can come to Butler, enjoy the extern in person and also virtual activities. My teams is also really close, and we have bonding activities. That is one advantage things. Other thing is my company, they have a hybrid like working, so I can come to the company some days a week. So both work virtually and working in the office is one of the interesting things that I would love to explore more during the summer.
I'm going to echo both of them and say I cannot wait to see what the Techpoint team has in store for us this summer. I have a little insight to just how hard they worked to make this happen. And I know they worked really, really hard last summer when it was all virtual, and I had a good time. So I can only imagine how great this summer is going to be. But I will say the one big thing for me is I want to meet a lot of different people. It's a lot of your fellow externs are really interesting people with really interesting work, and a lot of them have a big passion for their work, which is really exciting because you can learn more from people with passion than any other type of person. So there's just an enormous potential here to make lifelong friends and learn lifelong skills and take in new perspectives that you may have never seen before, because there are people from everywhere here.
So my last question before I turn it over to if any students have any questions is, what do you guys want to do after college? What are your plans?
So I haven't completely decided yet. I'm thinking I would like to go to grad school. So I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to pursue computer science or mathematics yet. But I love learning new things. This is going to sound weird. I love listening to professors, especially if it's an area, like you said, that they're passionate about. You can learn so much, and it's such an amazing experience to get to learn every day from someone who's really passionate about what they're teaching you. And I just want more of that experience. So I'm probably going to pursue some more education after this.
I love the industrial work, so because I always want to have a new project in business every single day. So I think probably I will work after I graduate, maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I will learn master of data science or maybe PhD. But I absolutely want to work after I graduation.
I have no idea what I want to do really. I come from a really different background than a lot of the people here, whereas I'm physics and astronomy. So the set path for physics and astronomy is a PhD. That's the whole road. There's not a lot of branches from that. But I really enjoy data science, and clearly I've got a foothold in it to some degree. So I don't know what I want to do. I might do data science for a couple of years as a consultant. I think that could be a lot of fun. And then I'll go get my PhD later when I'm more focused. Then I've developed a wider breadth of skills, because I think no matter where you go, having a wide variety of skills is one of the most valuable things you can have. It gives you new perspective into things. And part of me doesn't want to pigeonhole myself somewhere where I stop gaining that perspective. So it's a difficult decision. Fortunately, not one I have to make immediately.
Yeah, luckily you all have time, and so do these students as well. So if any of you guys have questions in the audience or virtual, you guys are welcome to come off mute or type it in the chat, and we can have a few more questions. Anyone? Check the chat. I'll double check. Anyone virtual have any questions for these lovely students? No questions? Now is your time. You can ask anything you want. You have like the perfect panelists to ask questions to.
They don't even have to be relevant questions.
Yeah,
honestly.
they can be anything. They can be like, what do you do for dinner on campus or anything like that? What do you guys do for dinner on campus? I want to know.
Is the dining court open back up yet?
I have no, that's a
I
great
think-
I think
question.
it was supposed to reopen on the 13th, but I don't know what day it is.
17th, I think.
Oh, the
17th.
17th, so close.
I have no food.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap. Oh, we do have a question. How do you get an internship in robotics?
So if you want an internship specifically in robotics, there's a point of recognition that robotics may sound like a subset of CS or a subset of like computer engineering, but there is a lot you can do with robotics. So do you want to be an embedded programmer in robotics? Do you want to work on the mechanical systems? And then I think getting involved with the like robotics community. So if you have a club on campus, like try to join. If there is a specific company you're looking at or a range of companies, keep up with their news. A lot of the times they're going to have like recruiter emails on their website where, if you have any questions, email so-and-so. And you can always send that personal email like, hey, I'm interested in this aspect and I saw you were doing X and I want to know more about it. And that will at least gain you that little bit of personal connection that's going to help you get that foot in the door.
To echo that, one of the best things you can do as you're going around to visit colleges and such is to send an email to somebody that does work you're passionate about and ask them to sit down for coffee. I would say 3 out of 5 times you're going to get a yes. And that might be someone that gives you a job later or calls somebody who works at Vex Robotics is a robotics company. I am not an expert in that one. But those people know a lot of people. Industry contacts have professor contacts, and those professors, if you show them you're passionate, they will go out of their way to help you. So don't be afraid to ask somebody to coffee. Seriously, even as a high schooler. Some professors will flip over that. They'll get so excited to meet somebody young and with passion in a field.
Especially as we come out of the era of no one's allowed to leave their house with their mask. Being invited to an in-person event to meet new people, they're gonna be so excited.
So excited.
And not only like you invite the professor, you can also connect with the alumni because they are also willing to have you. And then because they work in the industry as well, so they can give you the job referral in the future if they see you have passion in the area.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? I know I will be keeping these 3 on my radar when they graduate. I'm sure they will already have jobs secured by then, but I will keep my eye out for them. Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. That was phenomenal. Thank you for our in-person person. Very much appreciate it. This is recorded, so we do have one more question. How do you find people as such to find internships? So, well, I was gonna speak for you guys, but you guys are welcome to go. They're a little bit different than normal because they are through Xtern. I will say that.
So I did not get my internship through Xtern. I got my internship through the normal interview process, and then they offered to put me in the Xtern program for housing, which I accepted and have no regrets about. So I would say, if you're looking for a company, recruiting sites like LinkedIn or Indeed are always good. A lot of universities though will just have like a professor's page, and they will list the professor's area of study. What research did they do when they got their PhD? What are they currently studying or researching? And then they'll usually have an email, and that's a great way to get in touch. So I got mine because my internship because one of my professors knows a guy who's in the company I'm in and said, hey, look out for her resume. So I at least know that I had that going for me.
Yeah, like my tip is I often enjoy the organization. So for me, I'm a female learning computer science. Then you can join the Women in High Tech, Techpoint, and also rewriting the code, going through code because you will have more connections, and they're also posting the job opportunity for you to apply.
One of the things you can do with people is aim wider. So if you're going to a professor and you say, want to work for Cummins, don't say, hey, do you know anyone at Cummins? Say, hey, do you know anyone in this field? Because when you aim a little wider, you're going to get a better response. And to actually get to those people, it can be a difficult and long process. I'm not gonna sugarcoat the sending emails out to professor process. It's not quite as drudging as the posting interviews to a job board process, but you won't get a lot of emails back sometimes, especially the further you get into college. When you try to open those doors, some professors just are only interested in set things. So don't get discouraged when you just don't hear back. Just send out another one. I have a story. I have a friend who really wanted to work in a biology lab on Purdue's campus. And she emailed and emailed and emailed, and this guy just wouldn't respond to her. But she really wanted into this lab. So she sat outside his office whenever she wasn't in class for a week. Ran into him. He says, oh, you're the girl who emailed me a bunch. And she's worked in that lab for 3 years now. Notably, that lab was also working on COVID-19 before anyone had even heard of it. So it was a great lab to get into, but it took a lot of hard work and perseverance to get there. So don't be afraid to be almost annoyingly persistent on these things, because sometimes that's what it takes. And that might get you all the points in the world with that person.
That's a good question. This says, I'm sorry if this is a bit personal, but did any of you feel pressure to take a certain path in life due to family, or were they all positive and had given their approval?
So my family's been pretty supportive. They very much were pro me going into software engineering. Me taking a little bit of a turn into mathematics. I know they tried not to show it, but I could tell that worried them a bit because that wasn't my plan. They really did not want me to take longer than 4 years to graduate. They're like, no, if you're gonna do this, you have to graduate in 4 years. And luckily I can. But I also know that I want to go to grad school and they want me to get a job and start paying back my student debt. So my family's been pretty nice about it. It hasn't been too terrible, but I also know that I'm going to be happier going down this path than just immediately going into industry without even trying. So I think that's really important, is take their advice, but know what makes you happy.
Yeah, so when I first come to the college, my major is business, and I learned about business for the whole first year. And then since my second year, I switched my major into computer science. So kind of like the different path. And at that time, my parents a little bit confusing because they do not believe that I can graduate with computer science major in just 3 years, plus another major is quantitative economics. And then I just trying to work with my academic advisor and then show them the proof for my academics result. And also I can find the internship through Xtern as well for my sophomore year and also my junior. So now they support me a lot.
I'll try to take a positive approach to this. I think that most people's family, when they give them advice that they don't approve of what they're trying to do career-wise, is built out of good intentions. They don't understand how you can make a career out of that. They don't understand the path. They don't understand if you could finish in 4 years. What you have to do when you bring that to them, say, hey, I'm thinking about switching my major to this. Here's how I can still finish in 4 years. Or maybe if I'm going to finish in 5, that's a choice I'm willing to make. But this is where I want to go with it. Obviously, my path's been fairly abstract. Physics to data science isn't straightforward. And I had a number of people tell me it was not possible. But you have to have, most importantly, confidence in yourself to follow that path. And to have that confidence, at least for me, I have to know where it goes. So take the steps to succeed, and I think the rest will follow. Because once you show that you can succeed, nobody's going, well, people might tell you you can't, but nobody's going to be able to prove you can. And that's what's really important, is that you can prove to yourself that you can do it.
Show them the solution, show them the detailed plans, and then just go ahead with that.
It is your education. So especially if you're shouldering your own loans, do what you want to do with it because you are paying for it. So.
Well, I think one thing we can all learn from this is confidence is key in a lot of this. So we had, again, I said, some great panelists. Thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate your time, and I very much appreciate your three's time. So thank you. I do have a recording of this, so if you guys want to look back, let me know. But thanks, guys.